Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series presented by the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA. The Catalyst webinar series is a bi-weekly educational platform for creating success and change in your club and career. The Catalyst webinar series is brought to you by DRS, Digital Revenue Systems. Educate with elegance. Your facility deserves more than just static. Where screens speak luxury, digital signage designed to elevate golf, fitness, and wellness experiences. For more information, go to digitalrevsystems.com. Good morning, everybody. Want to welcome Mr. Joe Assell to the webcast this morning. Joe really needs no introduction. Joe is the president and CEO of GolfTech. GolfTech, as we all know, is the largest provider of golf instruction on the planet. Joe's a graduate of Mississippi State, and I got a question for him later on about he started GolfTech in 1995. He graduated Mississippi State out of their PGM program in 1994. So he's been the president and CEO of GolfTech for, going on 30 years. And he's also a very heavily decorated PGA member. He's the 2021, most recently, PGA Golf Executive of the Year. From 2023 to 2025, he's been the top 25 most powerful people in golf. He's on a numerous number of advisory boards at the national level, and he hails from the Denver area, and he's joining us this morning. Grew up in Chicago, and what I didn't know about Joe until John McNair was inducted into the Southern California PGA is that Joe Assell and John McNair actually grew up together in Chicago working for John's father at a golf course there. Had no idea about the nature of that relationship prior to that Hall of Fame induction. So, Joe, always great to see you, and thank you for carving out some time. We know you're busy. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Catalyst webinar series.
John, thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here. Hello, everybody. Excited to spend the next hour together. I was asked to speak today more about the business side of building GolfTech from day one to today. I think this is the third time, maybe the fourth, I've been on this webinar. It's an honor always to join all of you. And I think in the past I've spoken about teaching golf or about GolfTech employment opportunities. But today we're going to talk about the entrepreneurial journey of how I built this. And it's a pretty candid, kind of behind the scenes view. I occasionally guest lecture to business school classes, and I'm going to use just some of those slides, and we'll get into it. So, John, thanks again for having me. Thanks to DRS as our sponsor. I'll jump in. I'll try to cover 31 years in about 31 minutes. Might take me a couple minutes longer than that. So we are fortunate to be the world leader in golf improvement. We gave about 2 million golf lessons around the world last year, using primarily PGA pros to deliver those lessons in all different shapes and sizes and venues, but primarily throughout our GolfTechs. Our guiding light is our mission statement, which is just simply to help people play better golf. A lot of companies have big, long, fancy mission statements, half written by legal or HR or who knows who. And we just get straight to the point and help people play better golf. And if we do that, we believe we'll continue to be successful. Today, we have 262 GolfTechs around the world, mostly in the U.S., 222, but I have 40. Actually, I need to update this slide, 41. We just opened on Saturday in Bangkok. But we are in throughout Canada. We're throughout Japan, we're in Hong Kong, we're in Singapore, we're in Shenzhen, China, we're in Dubai, we're in Johannesburg, and as I said, just opened in Bangkok. We believe the world can hold over 750 GolfTechs, so we can still build approximately another 500. So we're rolling along here, but by no means we are not done yet. So to jump into the story a little bit and how we built this, I like to use this slide when I do my business school guest lectures to budding entrepreneurs. And I say, when you start a business, you think it's going to go great. You think you're going to be the boss, you're going to be in charge, you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have your own company, you're hopefully going to make all this money, and you're just on the way to this wonderful journey is what you have in your head. And the reality is, building a business is nearly impossible. It's fraught with peril. It's really, really hard. It's like 95% of startup companies go out of business within 5 years. And it's really, how do you navigate the challenges? Because there are going to be challenges. And the teamwork, the creativity, the innovation, the perseverance and grit, and all of the things, and the relentless, pursuit of just getting through things is really often what it takes. And unfortunately, I have a chart that looks like that bottom one. But the fortunate thing is, if you look at these two pictures here, if you survive the challenging one, you achieve more. You come out further ahead than the easy road. And as I mentioned, we have a chart that looks like the bottom one. This is our chart. This is basically our annual sales by month. Since inception, you can see way down there on the left, 1995 was the year we started. I was the only employee. I think I did about $90,000 in sales in my first year. We do 90,000 by like 10 a.m. On any given day now. But it's been a heck of a ride, and I'm going to take you through some of the bumps and bruises along this chart, and we'll talk about some of our successes and some of our severe challenges as well. So. To jump in though, and the comment John made, and I went to the PGM program at Mississippi State, and in 1993, I did my final internship at Cherry Hills Country Club here in Denver, and in 1994, I'm back at school finishing, and Clayton Cole, who was the head professional at Cherry Hills, bought really the first ever computer in 1994 that measured a golf swing. It was actually made by a company out of San Francisco area. Forget the name of the company. But he bought this computer. He had it in the basement at Cherry Hills in 1994 when I'm back at school. And the members kind of liked it, and he had this idea, well, what if we let all of Denver try this? Not at a real private club like Cherry Hills. And excuse me, a member happened to own a strip mall that happened to have a vacant spot in it, and said, sure, you can put this computer in this vacant spot I've got and see what happens. And so we opened our first location in Denver, and it was just a huge experiment. We didn't know how to market it, how to use the computer. We didn't know if we could make a business. We didn't know if we could make people better golfers. Everything we did every day was a bit of trial and error. We were called Driving Obsession. We actually partnered with a group out of San Francisco for the very beginning of this, and we got rolling. I was the only employee, and I quickly got booked. I was teaching golf 7 days a week. I was taking no days off, open to close, Monday through Sunday, just trying to make it go. I just had this paper appointment calendar back then, and I'll never forget. I had to go somewhere, like I had to go to the dentist or something, and I needed to get out of the shop for an hour or two. And I started looking at, when did I have an opening to get away. And I had gotten booked 17 straight days in a row with 0 openings. I didn't even realize it. And I finally found an open window in my schedule that I was able to get out, and we started growing. And we needed to hire another golf coach. But to do that, we needed a second one of these computers. So I went to an uncle of mine who was a business owner and borrowed some money from him, and I bought in and I paid for the second bay. We hired another coach. He got really busy. We hired another coach. He got busy. 2 of us decided to try to open a second one in Chicago, see if it works in another city, or are we just kind of lucky here because Clayton Cole, the pro at Cherry Hills, is well known. And he never left Cherry Hills, by the way. He was just the silent owner that hired me to get all this started. And so we opened one in Chicago. I borrowed some more money from my uncles and my parents, and we opened a second one. And it started getting rolling, and we got to a couple locations. And we decided we might be onto something, and let's raise a little bit of money and let's try to build some more and see what happens. So that began my first foray into fundraising to raise money for Golf Tech. And I call fundraising the F word of business because it's really hard. You're trying to pitch people. They ask you the dumbest questions. They don't understand your business. And there's another thing that is often referred to as the golden rule, not the traditional golden rule, but he who has the gold makes the rules. And you have somebody willing to invest $1 million in your business, but they now want to tell you how to do everything, including some really bad ideas, like maybe trying to do tennis lessons or staying open all night long. Or this is back in the 90s when none of this was an idea. And so we're navigating through how to grow this business. And I ended up raising about $3 million from about 80 different people. Anybody who'd give me 20, 50 grand, I would take it. more family members, my customers, they take a lesson, thought it was the coolest thing ever, and asked if they could invest, and different people. And we get rolling and start to get some traction. And now I am getting phone calls from like professional investors, venture capital investors. And the golden rule, he who has the goal makes the rules, is coming into play pretty strong here. And unfortunately, I listened to them, and this is now the late 90s, and there's this new thing coming about called the internet. And this new internet thing is going to change the world. And you've got to be a dot-com company, and you have to be on the internet, and you're going to be worth billions of dollars, and you're going to go public, but you got to be a dot-com. And kind of reminiscent a little bit like the AI bubble or AI, I don't know if it's a bubble or not, but the AI craze going on right now. And so I listened to these guys, and we had this idea. I had this idea that we'd put a kiosk in every shopping mall or airport, and you'd step in and make a golf swing, and I'd have a warehouse full of golf pros somewhere, and a video of your swing would go to these golf pros, and they'd analyze your swing, and by the time your plane lands, you get an email with the golf lesson in it. And now I'm thinking like a .com. Now I'm really thinking out there. And these guys say to me, okay, we're about ready to invest. You're almost there, but you're way too young. I think it was like 24 or 5. We can't give you $10 million. You need some senior executives. So I hired some very expensive people over me. I hired a CEO over me. I hired a CFO and a couple of other people. And now I'm a true .com because we are losing tons of money. And my 7 little golf techs or whatever I had could not cover all this technology development and all of this these executives. And unfortunately, I am about 3 months too late in kind of checking the boxes to become a .com. And by the time I had it all put together, the .com bubble completely burst. The NASDAQ went down, believe it or not, by 80% from peak to trough when everything imploded. Pretty much every .com company went under except for Amazon. These investors I was talking to, who never ended up investing, by the way, lost all their money and all their other investments. They went running away and disappeared, and they left me holding the bag on a company losing money without any money that is in a dire situation. The tune changed overnight to, you need to be profitable. And I was like, yeah, that's great, but you guys are the ones who told me to create all this other stuff, and now you left me hanging. And so we came within days of going under. I'll save you the gory details. I was literally throwing up in the bathroom of a restaurant, thinking our days were numbered. I couldn't make payroll coming up in a couple of days, and I thought this idea was over. I was going to lose all my money, all my family's money, and it was the end. And then a guy who was one of my investors in the 3 million group basically saved us. He was an entrepreneur himself and believed in us, and he lent us $500,000 as a lifeline to either get profitable or find the right investor. And he made it clear there was not $501,000. If I didn't get it figured out or fixed before that money ran out, we were done. And obviously, we got it figured out. We're here today. But that rolls into what I call crisis number 1 in our business, which is we were within days of going under. We were completely upside down. I listened to the investors who coached me in the wrong direction, and I got the business in a bad spot. And we did navigate through this thanks to one guy who gave us a lifeline. So buckle up. We're going to talk about, I wish I only had one crisis in our story, but you can see a few other dips along this chart. There's a few more crises here coming up. But obviously some good things happened, or we wouldn't be where we are today. So in, excuse me, sorry, I'm just getting over a cold. In 2002 and 3, 3 big things happened. I brought in the right investor. I brought in a group called the Gart family out of Denver. They started what became Sports Authority. They sold out in the early to mid 90s to the group that eventually took it public, and then actually later it went under. But they cashed out massively, and they backed my company. They became mentors to me and stabilized their finances. They ended up being my partners for 21 years. They came in when I think I had 7 or 8 golf techs, and they exited when I had about 240. So great partners for me. Then Golfsmith was starting to go into retail. They were originally a catalog company only with epoxy and whipping and shafts and whatever. And they decided to open some golf stores. They didn't know what they were doing. They opened their first stores way too big. They had empty space with no merchandise in it. They asked us to put a golf tech in there just to take up some room. It went great for both of us. Actually, the second one we ever did was in Woodland Hills in LA. And we ended up going in nearly every new golfsmith they opened as they expanded around the country. I ended up opening inside 81 golfsmiths over time. They were really a great, real estate partner for us. They never owned any of us. They were just our landlord. We paid them rent and built a golf tech inside their stores and really scaled with them. Although many of you know this is a foreshadowing here to a future crisis that I'll talk about in a minute, but this was a great launching point for us. And then the third thing we did is we offered franchises. So prior to this, we owned every golf tech ourselves, company owned, and franchising is where someone else can own it, and they pay us upfront fees and then royalties, and they license our brand and our business model and our software and our training. And we had people coming in to visit golf techs. We had about 20 locations now who we could tell, didn't care about golf lessons, but they were there on a spy mission to really maybe knock us off. They were asking our coaches, how many lessons do you give in a day? And how do they pay you? And do you know what the rent is? And what's the marketing plan? And our thought was, well, we can have competitors everywhere, or we can bring everybody on our team and we can have golf techs everywhere. And so we shifted to starting to offer franchises where other people could own the golf techs. And that really added to our scale. We also thought having a local owner would be very helpful. Our number one source of new business is word of mouth. And I thought if I had a wealthy guy in all these cities across America that was member at a private club, and the first maybe 200 word of mouth customers would just come in right from this person. And so we started offering franchises, and the combination of these three things, the having some capital stability, having a real estate partner, having franchise owners who did the work and put up the capital themselves to grow, led to a heck of a growth run here. Now on the current chart, it doesn't look like much, but if you could imagine if I was making this presentation right there in 2008, where that little ramp up right there is the whole slide, it was a hell of a run. We opened 77 golf techs in 2 years, which is the equivalent of every 9 days we opened a golf tech. We crossed our 100th opening in Las Vegas in July 2007, and we were just on a roll as us ourselves and franchises and within Golfsmith. We were growing like crazy, and you can imagine again if that little upslope there was to scale to this whole slide, what that was like. So right when we're rolling, and I've got 77 kind of baby golf techs in year one or year two, just starting to make money, just starting to grow their business. We're kind of just getting our chin above water, and along rolls in crisis number three, which is the financial crisis and the Great Recession. And the problem that this brought, besides a weakening consumer and the consumer pulling back, and all of our sales were dropping everywhere, including these 77 brand new golf techs that maybe weren't quite making money or just starting to make money, all drop 20% in the downturn, and now they're all starting to lose money again. We've got to try to find a way to save them all. But then the bigger hit for us is we were actually making a lot of money on the business of selling franchises, and that immediately stopped. No, the banks were shut down. No one could get a loan. No one could come up. No one wanted to sell their stocks that were down, and if they had cash, they were certainly saving it for dear life. And we went from about 40 openings a year to 0 openings, and the gravy train of selling franchises stopped while I'm trying to fuel all these new locations that are starting to lose money. And we had to do a big layoff at our corporate headquarters because I had built a team to open a new golf tech every 9 days. I had a real estate and construction team and site selection. I had a marketing team to launch a grand opening party every week. I had recruiting and training of all of our coaches at Golf Tech University. We had a huge team here, and we went to opening 0 locations, and I had to downsize and right size that team. And it was an awful day that I'll never forget when I had to do that. Luckily, at this point, I had the Gart family, the Sports Authority Group, in now as my partners, and they had deep enough pockets to help us navigate through this. But the silver lining that came out of this is we actually caught our breath and stepped back for a minute and looked at the business in general, not just worrying about opening a new golf tech every 9 days. And what we realized is our franchises were significantly underperforming the corporate owned and performing quite a bit worse. And what happened is I had sold to the wrong people. I sold to guys that were frankly too rich and they didn't care about their golf tech investment. They were more worried about where the big money was coming from. And so we stopped selling franchises. We have basically never sold them since then. We ended that in 2008. We have commenced buying them back. Often, when we buy back a franchise, we double sales within a year. We prove that we're really good at this, and some of these franchise owners we picked weren't the right owners. The franchises I do have left, I have the proper owners in place, which is a PGA member. And when I have a PGA member who is an owner operator, who the money means a lot to them, they show up every day, they work hard, they make their business go, they know how to manage a team of golf pros, we do great. So my remaining franchises are almost all owned by PGA member owner operators. And that was something we learned coming out of this. So then, as you can kind of see in the chart here, we just went on 7 years of really nice, steady growth, building our business, growing along. Everything was great. And then we started developing software in Vietnam in this time. We kept buying back the franchises. And this is when we started growing international. So we opened in Canada, we opened in South Korea, we opened in Japan. That's where we first met a company called GDO. GDO bought the franchise rights to Golf Tech in Japan. You can see here the grand opening in Tokyo. We broke open a keg of sake using 7-irons and cracked open the wood top lid. It was a lot of fun as we launched in Tokyo. This led to our relationship with GDO beginning, and GDO ended up becoming an investor and buying our business later in the years as they bought out the Gart family. But it all started here in this span of growth. And then I don't mention China on this list, but what you see in this next picture is a Golf Tech in China. That was not us. We had nothing to do with this. Somebody just straight up copied us, as you hear about this happening in China a lot. I can tell you it's real. I just had a friend walking down the street in Beijing, and he texted me, "Congratulations on getting open in China." And I was like, we didn't open in China. We ended up getting this shut down, but somebody completely just knocked us off over there. From what I understand, what was going on the inside was nothing like a Golf Tech, but they just put up a sign with our logo on it that they stole from us. So through this period of growth, we're rolling along, and then unfortunately in 2016, in comes crisis number 3, which is Golfsmith going bankrupt. And this, at the time, was the worst thing that ever happened to us. We lost 50 Golf Techs in 1 month. It was the worst day ever. 30 locations. We had 30 days notice to 50 locations closing. This wasn't a restructuring bankruptcy. This is we're just turning the lights off and we're gone. Golf Galaxy, we were in 81 of Golfsmiths. Golf Galaxy bought 31 of them. We stayed in those for a while. We got out. We built 40 new Golf Techs in 9 months. 10 of the 50 were able to be absorbed into another Golf Tech nearby. We absorbed all the customers and the coaches and basically ran 2 Golf Techs out of 1 location at kind of max capacity while we got through this crisis. And then we got 40 new ones built in 9 months. And so this is what we're referring to as crisis number 3. That little dip wasn't nearly as painful, or it was much more painful than that little dip looks. But the massive silver lining that came out of this is our new locations within 1 year had doubled in sales. When we were in a Golfsmith, we could only sell lessons and practice time. In our own locations, it's lessons, practice, and club sales. So we added club sales in out of the Golfsmith. We built bigger locations. We took better real estate. We had longer hours. We had better signage. You add it together, and what I thought was the worst thing that could ever happen, 50 locations closed in 1 month, turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to us. Once we got these reopened a year later, they were just crushing it. About this time, Golfsmith was struggling, but we were doing great. And we started talking about more longer term planning. How do we get ready? How do we build a company for 10, 20, 30 years, not just worrying only about next week or next month? And we had these meetings in 2016, tried to plan 5 years out. We said, okay, in 2021, if you're sitting in a lobby of a Golf Tech, What should it be? What will our competition be doing to try to beat us? What will the American consumer demands be? What will the world be like? Not once did somebody say, "Hey, you're going to be in the middle of a pandemic." That would have been great if somebody told us about that one. But we were working on planning for 5 years out, and we were making some changes. So the first change we made is we didn't think our current logo, which is the one on the left, had we had that logo for about 20 years. We didn't think it had another 20 years in it. So we converted to the current modern logo we use today. It cost us about $2 million to switch logos. I had to take 200 signs down off of our location to put new signs up. We ordered like 18,000 shirts and quarter zips to reclothe all of our coaches because they had the old logo. Obviously, website, business cards, things like that. And when I talk about long-term thinking, for $2 million, we could have built more golf techs and we would have been, quote, bigger. But all we would be doing is digging a deeper hole with that old branding and old logo. So we thought the right long-term thinking was to hit pause and modernize our branding. At the same time, golf clubs are becoming adjustable. As you all know, we used to just have a staff bag in the corner with a half a dozen 7-irons, a couple degrees up or down, or a half-inch long or short, and a lie board, and away we went with fitting golf clubs. But we had to adjust to this new world of tens of thousands of combinations of heads and shafts, and putting in a wall like this at one golf tech, not that big of a deal, but putting in 200 of these, all as fast as we can was a big deal. And again, excuse me, long-term thinking. Let's prepare for the future. Let's not worry about building more golf techs at the moment. Let's modernize to this new way of selling golf clubs, which we had to do. And then we modernized our interior design to what is basically today's current design. For a little fun here, I'm going to take you through the history of our lobbies. So our first ever lobby, when we were driving Obsession, we couldn't even afford furniture, so that white furniture we stole off the back deck, the back patio of Clayton Cole, the guy who was the pro at Cherry Hills who had the first idea. We just borrowed his patio furniture for our lobby. It was just me, trying to make this thing go. So as we get going, we decide we can finally afford real furniture, like a real commercial desk or check-in. And so we buy this. It was a great day. We bought our first ever front desk, and then we proceeded to just mess it all up with all kinds of crap we hope somebody would buy so we could maybe stay in business for another week or two. But this is a big moment. And then when the Gart family came in, again, reminder, this is the group that started what became Sports Authority. They had a whole team of retail designers on their staff. They came in and designed what I called the Browns. We got 15 years out of the Browns. It was fine. But as we switched to our current design, it wasn't just about more modern colors. It was about function and experience. And we felt that desk was too much of an unwelcoming check-in desk, like you're going to the dentist or something. So we evolved to this, modern design that we use today. 261 of our 262 golf techs in the world look like this. We do have a flagship in Manhattan that is pretty killer, but this cost about 5 times as much to build as a normal golf tech. So this won't be replicated everywhere, but this is where we're testing some new things that will get rolled in. So we roll out of this period with modernizing our logo, modernizing our center design, putting in shaft walls everywhere, getting out of all the Golfsmiths and the Golf Galaxies. As I mentioned, our sales doubled. We then opened in Hong Kong and Singapore, and we expanded our partnership with GDO. They made a small investment in our business. They were no longer just our Japan franchisee, but they made a small investment in our business and took 1 seat on the board of directors. And you can see that led to the steepest, fastest growth in our history right there. As you get bigger, it's harder to grow faster. We did it. It was really the result of all of the investing we did in our business and growing our business. So we were rolling along at the fastest growth we've ever seen. And as you all know, along comes COVID. And we're closed. We're not like a golf course where we're outside. We are lights off, doors locked. We were closed anywhere from 5 weeks to 3 months, based on just all on politics, based on where we were in America and when we were allowed to get back open. We knew whenever we reopened, the key was our customers had to come back. Obviously, that's kind of obvious. But we knew the key to our customers coming back is our coaches had to be there. So we, through the closure with zero revenue, we paid all of our coaches full compensation, so base pay and the equivalent of commissions. We just used the previous year's sales at their location and reran a commission run based on the year, the April of the year before of 2019, and kept everybody whole. And then you can see, how strongly we came out of it. As I mentioned, there have been some silver linings out of these crisis, and the silver lining that for us that came out of COVID, I certainly wouldn't want to go through it again, but the silver lining that came out is we brought our OptiMotion technology to market. It wasn't ready, but this is measuring your motion through cameras only. No longer need the kind of the backpack and the belt and the straps with all the sensors. So now we could welcome a customer in and give them a lesson that is 100% socially distant. The golf the instructors, the coaches never need to get near the student to put on the straps or anything, and they could keep their distance the whole time. And this software was in development, but it wasn't ready. It was not accurate at the time. It was slow, but we felt it was a key to helping us get back open. And the thing that we didn't think about, kind of, shame on me now in hindsight, is we quickly gave about 1 million lessons using this software and pumping all of those swings into our machine learning AI models. It quickly got accurate and it got fast. And we fixed all of our R&D problems just by letting our customers be part of the test case and be part of the R&D. And it brought accelerated the development of this, what is now our pride and joy and our cutting edge technology. Many of you have probably seen it incorporated into all the CBS broadcasts. We were used multiple times at the PGA Championship over the weekend, some of it under our brand. And then we also powered the T-Mobile swing analysis that the dots were pink to be within their brand. But that was all us doing all of that for them. So we come racing out of this, out of the recession. We went from kind of crisis to chaos as we come out of that. And then in my mind, it was just the continuation of the momentum we were on. I know golf really boomed because of COVID, but I like to give my team the credit for surviving that and working together through crisis management and really picking back up where we are. So I always put this red line in here just to credit my team for getting through it. But as you all know, our world is evolving, and with Topgolf and simulator social places opening everywhere, there are people pouring into golf right now. It's the greatest time ever to be in golf. You can see here in 2014, there were 30 million golfers, 5 million of them off course, and last year there were 48 million golfers and 19 million of them off course only, have not made it to a golf course yet. I kind of call this the video gameization of golf. It's you don't have to know the rules, you don't have to know the etiquette, you can be bad, you don't have to dress any certain way, and it's welcoming and just a wave of people in. With TGL, simulators are becoming more accepted and more common. The quality is getting so much better. And this evolving world we're in is what led to us acquiring SkyTrack about 3 years ago. We thought we needed to play a role in this, video gameization of golf. And at the time, some of our, higher priced competitors were available as a company to be acquired as well, Full Swing and Foresight and FlightScope. But we really weren't interested in a company that sold their product at such a high price point and excluded most golfers. We wanted to be our mission statement is to help people play better golf, and that's all people. And we wanted to be able to reach the mass consumer, and SkyTrack is a very, very accurate device. It's just more for consumer use. It's just not quite as robust for commercial use, and we thought this was a great fit for where we were going. Well, we acquired SkyTrack. We then started integrating golf technology into it. We then bought another company called 24/7 that makes the turf and the enclosure and the screen, and we buy the projector, and we can sell you an entire simulator with Pebble Beach and a whole 100 golf courses and golf tech coaching and golf tech skills challenges and gapping and practice drills for about $7,000, fully turnkey, everything you need. Our goal is to have these everywhere so that we can bring better golf to golfers everywhere. So you put this stuff together. We also came out of COVID, and we've opened 66 new golf techs since COVID ended. And you can see, obviously, the fastest growth run in our history, mostly powered just by plugging in the SkyTrack business and the enclosure business, into ours. But we never stopped developing our technology as part of this, and we have now got to where our OptiMotion technology can work with one camera. We're working on bringing it to a phone. But as I mentioned, this is Justin Rose on the range at the Masters. We did almost 200 segments as in different facets of the Masters this year. A lot of it was in the on the range segment within their mobile app, but we did some Amen Corner stuff for Amazon, and we are constantly doing swing analysis integrated with our partners at CBS. And at the Masters, we did a feature on Rory versus Scotty, and how much does their right toe move when they make a swing. We did all kinds of fun things, and then again this year or last week the PGA Championship as well, which is really our OptiMotion technology starting to become really a third business line for us. So as I wrap things up here, kind of where we're going, we are firmly excited about our GolfTech Center business. We plan to continue to grow and build that. We have continued plans to make that business better. We really never slow down in innovating the technology, the training of our coaches, the customer experience. We are rapidly growing our SkyTrack business, and then we are working to integrate GolfTech lessons into your SkyTrack experience. We're tentatively calling it GolfTech Anywhere, but we'll see what the final name is. But hopefully here by the end of this year, when you're playing on a SkyTrack, you'll have some via your phone, some GolfTech coaching that goes with it. And then the last kind of thing for me is that has us excited is as we look at the world out there, there are this is actually just the U.S. this chart, but there are 119 million people in America, according to the National Golf Foundation, that say they're interested in golf or they're a fan of golf. 45 million people in the blue hit a golf ball last year, and we had 284,000 unique customers, unique humans, either come into a GolfTech or hit a shot on a SkyTrack. And that gray box, I think, might not be to scale. It might even be too small. 284,000 out of 45 million or 120 million. And so while we're the biggest in lessons, we're the number one selling kind of consumer grade launch monitor. The world's a gigantic oyster out there yet for us and for all of you, in how much momentum golf has right now and how much potential there is out there to continue to grow. So we show up every day trying to recruit the best PGA pros to come join our team and either work in our corporate office or work in our centers, and we still see quite a bit of opportunity here in front of us. So as I kind of bring things back full circle, it always sounds like it's going to be easy. For us, it's been anything but easy. We've had 4 major crises that we've really navigated: the dot-com bust, the financial crisis, the Golfsmith closure, and COVID. But then along the way, we've had a lot of innovation and a lot of decisions that we made that created kind of all of our upslopes in those charts. And we're working on the next upslope every day right now. So John, I hope I delivered here about on time for you, and happy to take any questions or have any discussion with anybody this morning.
Joe, it was just about the best presentation I think any of us have ever seen on the Catalyst webinar. So good. That last slide, I mean, that's life, right? So I got a wealth of questions. And then, of course, if anybody, for the PGA members that are on this morning's webcast, feel free to raise your hand in the chat box. I'll ask a question on your behalf. I got a few of them here. So the closure during the pandemic, as time goes on, we as an association, we seem to, and as a society, we seem to talk less and less about the pandemic, which is a good thing. But when you made the decision, obviously you had to close. You as a corporation made the decision to pay your employees salary plus commission based on what they were making the prior year. You had no idea how long you were going to have to do that for. How long at that moment? How long were you prepared to do it for? How long could you
That's a
sustainably
great
do it?
question. We felt we had about 3 months of runway to do that before we would have to make some really hard decisions. And I mean, I hadn't talked about this much. We had the entire mass layoff plan drafted, the how to roll it out, how to whatever we had, how to lay off, hundreds and hundreds of coaches out there, and how to manage that. And it was the playbook was ready, and there were days our finger was literally on the trigger, and then the cracks started opening. I think maybe Florida or Texas, we got open first somewhere, and we saw some light. And and then there were a lot of rules. Some places that we could only like one customer at a time, or a weird different things like that. But the light started shining where we thought we maybe could get through this, and then we never had to do it, and we got out of it.
As you know, you probably know better than anybody, so much of the golf business and success in the golf business is relationship based. When you started doing the yeoman's job of going around and trying to find people to invest in your idea, friends, family, people that you knew, angel investors, can you talk about your relationships in terms of, perhaps your internship at Cherry Hills, Mississippi State, different connections you made in the golf industry? How important were those relationships in getting that support for those early franchises?
I mean, it was how and where I raised basically all the money. And I don't know if I would say the golf industry as much as because back then I was new and young and wasn't as networked in the industry, but it was golf and the sport of golf. And if we were in some boring business trying to sell, some boring widget, I guarantee these guys wouldn't be investing. But they were golfers, they were passionate golfers, and they had a chance to put some money into what looked like a exciting new golf opportunity and invest along with their passion. And golf was the deal closer for probably 90% of those investors. I think my uncles did it just because they were guilted into it. But mostly everybody else, they were passionate golfers, and golf was the deal closer. And along those lines, I don't think I or we, and I mentioned this at John McNair's induction, just reflect enough on how lucky we are that we all make a living in golf. There's so many more miserable jobs and careers out there, and the fact that we all make a living in golf, I certainly don't. I don't take it for granted, but I also don't reflect on it enough along the way.
So you had talked about when Golfsmith came along and you started opening up in Golfsmiths. It was a great thing that turned out to be, a not so great thing at the end. Did you see the demise coming uh, when they started closing down the Golfsmiths with you guys inside of them?
Well, so yeah, for the couple years ahead of time, there were a lot of changes. They went public, then they went back private. They were bought by a group out of Canada called OMERS, the Ontario Municipal Employee Retirement System. A big pension fund bought them. They merged them with Golf Town in Canada, and all along the way, they just kept making mistakes and making bad decisions. And I'll tell you the number one commonality in my view, the mistakes they were making is they kept hiring non-golfers at the executive management level. If somebody had a fancy resume from another retail company, they could get hired, but they didn't know anything about golf. And they were losing their connection to pure golfers. And we saw the authenticity in their stores start to slide, and we were worried about it. And then when the bankruptcy was brewing, we were talking to them weekly. They kept thinking that they had a new investor that was going to refinance them and fund growth again. They were going to come out of it, and we were going to grow together. In fact, I was talking to many of the potential investors about how many more they were going to build, more Golfsmiths, and how many more I would go in, and we were part of the plan. And then, as bankruptcy is ruled by a judge, not by the bankers or the capital markets, and there were higher bids from the liquidators who thought they could buy the pieces and sell it off than a new investor that was going to grow it. And then the combination with the bid from Dick's Sporting Goods, who owns Golf Galaxy, to come in and convert some to Golf Galaxies. That bid really at the last minute won. How you remember where you are sometimes when you get really bad news. I remember the hotel room I was sitting in when I got the call that the judge had ruled that it's switching to a full closure liquidation, not a refinance and grow. And we knew it was brewing, but that was the day we got the notice that 50 of them are closing in the next 30 days. But we were kind of prepared, but we were led to believe it was going to be the other side, and they were going to get new capital and go grow some more.
So that first major angel investor way back when, Mr. Newman, where did he come? Where did he come from?
So, to your point, he was a member at Cherry Hills. That's how I met him. He sold a software company for hundreds of millions, and he had people who supported him when he was starting out, and he was trying to pay it forward and supporting me, and he's still a good friend today.
And so that relationship with Mr. Newman started at the counter in the golf shop during an internship, maybe picking up a basket of balls on the
Pretty
range.
darn close. Yeah, the year we started Golf Tech. One of the members invited me to play in the member guest at Cherry Hills, and it started when I was a guest and got to know him over a cocktail at that, and we were building this business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, kind of a fun question. How did you get the Rogue Golf Tech in China shut down?
That was a little bit of work because the laws are in favor of all their copying and cheating over there. But we had to hire a Chinese law firm that pursued them. It took about 2.5 years to get our sign removed from that store.
So 2.5 years, probably a fair amount of dollars spent doing it. Was there ever a consideration to say, who cares? Let him do it?
No, because I didn't know. I mean, obviously, if the cost would have gotten exorbitant, maybe, but I didn't know what they were doing inside. I didn't go visit it. I didn't know what business they were running in there and what damage it would do to our brand for when we eventually want to open in China. I do have one open in Shenzhen now, and I've got one in Hong Kong, which is quasi-China now, and we didn't want our brand to be damaged. Same in Australia. Somebody was running a golf tech in Australia, and I actually did fly over there and meet with them, hoping that they actually could be. It wasn't exactly our logo, but it was our name. Hoping they could become our like master franchisee for Australia and turn them into a partner. It ended up not working out, but we had the similar issue there.
So, a huge part of your success, in my opinion, probably a lot of people's opinions, is what an expert you are at marketing and branding. You talked about uh, the timing of changing the Golf Tech logo from the one that you had for 20 years to the one that you have now. I can't help but think about your influence and all the committees that you sit on in your service on the board at the national level. I hate to put you on the spot with this question. I'm going to ask it anyway. How involved were you with the changing of our logo 2 years ago?
I would just say medium. That went really fast. So that was in a byproduct of actually Live. And when there was the announcement of the possible Live and PGA Tour merger back in like June of a couple years ago, the media didn't know the difference between the PGA of America and the PGA Tour, and we, the PGA of America, were worried about guilt of association with Live when even we have nothing to do with it. And it was really led by Jeff Price to quickly modify our logo to try to be more distinct and different. And he hired Omaha Productions, Peyton Manning's company, to do it. And I would say the only input I had a little bit of involvement in there. I'm certainly not trying to take much credit at all. Was I've been advising them more and more to simplify it. I think sometimes the clubs and the ball and the 1916 and all that just clutters it up too much. And all you really want to see is PGA, right? And make sure that is very, very clear. And I was just at the PGA Championship last week, and it was great to see most of the staff shirts were a more simple logo, and they decluttered it a little bit. And I'm not even saying that that was due to me, but that was the main advice I was giving to Jeff Price at that time was to just keep it simple.
I think they headed some of that advice. I mean, initially, obviously, there was grumblings about how much it costs to do that, but I think ultimately people are happy with how it turned out. The How many franchises are left?
In the U.S., I have 40, I think 41 franchises left in the U.S. and another 40 or so internationally. And they're doing great. We're not in like a hurry to roll them back in, but honestly, I'm hoping to really cash out the PGA members who own them and really boost their life and their retirement at some point as we roll them back in. We've bought back about 110, but I have about 40 left in the U.S.
So your long-term goal is to not have any franchises left out there. You want to
Or
bring them
fewer.
into the fold.
We're trying to build a big company, and when it's a franchise, they own the business. So they own the bottom line. And we just get a little royalty off the top, but they own that business. It's theirs. And as I'm trying to build a bigger and bigger business, if I can move them onto our balance sheet so we own those businesses, it just helps me build a bigger base. So it's as much of just continuing to build a bigger business as control or anything else.
A lot of you talked about how you had added club sales to your business model. So many golf clubs, public-private resort, have kind of de-emphasized that because of the competition out there, big box competition like Club Champion and Golf Galaxy. How large a piece of that business has that become for you? And is it comparable to what you're doing in the golf instruction?
So it's about 25% of the sales at a golf tech. So lessons and some practice time, simulator time is 75% of our business and are still our core. But it's about 25%. I do think there's some potential to grow it. I just don't understand. We sell it at MAP pricing with a good fitting experience, and I'm still astounded on how many people go pay double at Club Champion. And so I'm hoping we can grab some of that market share here in the future. But it's a key part of our, as I mentioned, our mission is to help people play better golf. And I think playing your best golf, part of it is having the right equipment, and it can really enable you to play your best. And you're talking about it maybe going down at the courses some. The one thing I'll say is it's hard. The product knowledge is hard. It's hard for the staff at a golf course to know every shaft, every head across, say, 5 or 6 different vendors. We have a hard time, and we have extensive training, and we have software that coaches our fitters on, on how to do the fitting. And that's still hard. I'd say that's while the selection has become great, it's great for the consumer. It's become very hard to execute high quality club fitting because there's so many variables in the heads and shafts, and then the weighting within the woods as well that can be adjusted to really change the ball flight quite a bit. So it's hard to do on scale at a high level of excellence.
So thank you so much, Joe. I do have a shout out. I think that's all the questions here. Actually, I do have a question here from Andy Tooney, who
Hey, Andy.
you know Andy, of course. He's
Yeah.
done some work in some of your golf techs, and of course, he's a past president for the section and pro emeritus at Hacienda and a Southern California PGA legend. His question for you is, how are you currently promoting job positions for golf tech?
So we are. We should. I should know this better, but I have an HR team that handles this. We should be all over the PGA job boards, and for people who are looking, and we are continually working on improving our job offering with the benefits side and fringe benefits, and then. One of our issues is our compensation plan got too complicated. And at the end of the day, the compensation is fine, but it's hard for people to get their arms around how it works. So we're currently working to simplify our compensation plan and increase it. And we are rolling out guarantees. So we're going to guarantee you X dollars. I think this doesn't work in California; it's too low. But most of the country, it's minimum 55,000. Worst case, we guarantee you're going to make that much money. I know it needs to be higher in California. To take some of the confusion and the perceived risk out of it, make it more simple. So we are constantly working on evolving. A guy named John Williams, he's from spent a lot of time in your section, is a key part of our HR and operations team designing the evolution of our compensation plan.
Got it. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Joe. Got a shout out here from John Bezignian. He's Golf Tech Upland. Didn't have a question, just wanted to make a comment
Great. Thanks,
about
John.
how dedicated you are, Joe. John's been on board with Golf Tech through a lot of those crises, and just making a comment about how you're a CEO and a president that puts the employees first. So, obviously you're an inspiration to all of us. I can't think of a more successful PGA professional who's just basically every great idea you've had, just like the touch of gold, you just keep going and keep
Not
going,
everyone,
keep going.
but we're trying.
So those are all the questions we have today. Of course, we know you're a busy man. Thank you so much. This is your fourth time being on the Catalyst webinar
All
series
right.
over the last 11 years that we've been doing this. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise. Your story is truly inspirational, and it's always a benefit to the PGA members of SoCal to hear it and experience. For all the PGA members that are on this morning's webcast, you will receive one PDR credit for the last hour. Thank you very much for joining us. And Joe, thank you so much. And we'll probably see you next at Super Regional in August, I would imagine.
Somewhere along the way for sure. Yeah. Thanks,
Thanks,
John.
man.
Honored to be here today. Happy to share, and thanks for having me.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Take care.